Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the hottest NXT report here on YouTube and vidme.com. I am your host, Pete Wall, and of course you are watching Pillar to Post. Now tonight, NXT was more about recapping all the events going into the NXT Chicago TakeOver pay-per-view coming up Saturday. But before we get into anything, I need to give a shout out to my sponsors, Audible. Now, today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/pillar to post. Over 180,000 titles available for you to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Now, there are tons of books to choose from if you are into the wrestling autobiographies and the like. They are available. AJ Lee just released hers not so long ago. Justin Roberts, I believe, is available, or you are able to order. Now, these audiobooks are free. So you sign up for your free membership, you get 30 days to check out audible.com. But if you decide you want to cancel that membership the same day you receive your free audiobook, you will keep that audiobook. It is yours for applying. Now, I want to also talk about tomorrow night, 8 p.m., Shooting from the Hip, right here on Pillar to Post, on this channel. We go live with Shooting from the Hip with my co-host, Red Rayner. He has channel Heavyweight Mark. Make sure to check him out. He does a lot of shit. He covers some wrestling. He covers a lot of how-to when it comes to computer tech. Check him out if you are interested. He is the co-host of Shooting from the Hip, so please show him a little bit of love. And also, Friday, we're going to cover the UK Challenge. Saturday, we're going to cover the NXT Chicago TakeOver. Sunday, Backlash. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's all wrestling. A lot to cover this coming weekend and the week to follow. So make sure you tune in. This show is going to pick up. And maybe, just maybe, the scenery changes behind me and you find yourselves in a new studio in my basement. That's what I'm striving for this weekend, or I should say after the whole pay-per-view, because it's going to be busy. Now, tonight, like I said, not a whole lot went on. We had two good matches, and then we had a women's match that could have been better, but I'm not going to knock it. These women are just starting off their career in WWE as well as NXT, so I'm going to give them a little bit of a break. They could have been a little bit more entertaining. There was a lot of pausing. There was a lot of, a lot of miscontinuity, So they got a lot to work on yet. And so I'm not going to shit on them. Drew McIntyre started off the show, but before we get there, we had Bobby Roode shown arriving at the arena and not in a very good mood, yelling at his assistant to get his ass moving, basically. They didn't have all day. We get your usual introduction from the commentary crew, and we head straight into our first match. Drew McIntyre versus Sean Maluta. Now, I guess Sean Maluta is a descendant of Afa from the Wild Samoans back in the day. I believe also a member of that huge Inouye family. Drew McIntyre, I love his new intensity. He comes to the ring. You can see the fire in his eyes for a change. He's got that intensity back. Great to have him back in NXT. I want to see him eventually move on to the main card and hopefully find his success that he missed out on his first run. A very high impact match from both these guys. Maluta really tried to make a good showing, but was shut down by Drew McIntyre every time. We've seen Drew McIntyre do a belly-to-belly and throw Maluta almost halfway across the ring. It was impressive. I love seeing it. We've seen a bunch of huge kicks, and finally, to end it off, Drew McIntyre ended the match with what he calls the Claymore. And it is very reminiscent of the Yakuza kick, also known as the single leg drop kick. Great match, a lot of energy from both these guys. Maluta really gave it a good try, but was shut down at every opportunity. So your winner of the very first match was Drew McIntyre. Very impressive. I love seeing him in these matches again. Now Maluta, he does show promise. He does. I'm not sure about his look. I think he needs to hit the gym a bit more. And it's been said a lot about a lot of these guys in this new era. They look like guys that you see as your next door neighbor. They're not as fit as a lot of the wrestlers used to be, but they are in NXT. I hope that Triple H and William Regal are instilling some good vibes on them and letting them know, hey, you can't just go out there looking the way you do. You got to improve yourself. One could say that about Kassius Ohno as well. And for his size and the weight he's gained, he is still very, he's very quick, and he's got the agility of a much smaller man and a lighter man. I would like to see him firm up again. He kind of looks out of shape. But, for what he does in the ring, he does an impressive body of work. Like I said, Drew McIntyre takes your first win, and with a very intense match. Now, post-match interview with Caleb Braxton, he's asked about getting the attention of Wesley Blake. Drew says he's not worried about the attention and will give Wesley his full attention with a match next week. There's a lot of video packages tonight covering everything leading up to NXT TakeOver Chicago. I'm not going to go into it because there was a lot. Now, our next match was Sonya Deville versus Lacey Evans. And let's see, where do I got it? Because like I said, there was a ton of vignettes and promo packages leading up. So, now, Sonya Deville is a former MMA mixed martial arts fighter. And she looks impressive. She's got a mean look to her. These women both need a lot more work. They both didn't do too bad, but there was a lot of stalling in between. They looked like they weren't sure what they were supposed to do. And it just kind of slowed the match down a little bit more than I would have liked. So they need to work on their timing a lot more. But in the end, it wasn't a bad match. I'm not going to shit all over it. It could have been better, yes. But they are still fairly new to the wrestling world. So you can't crap on them for all that. So there's a lot of massive strikes by Sonya right off the top of the match. A lot of quick pins at the top of the match as well. And then there was a double leg takedown by Sonya. And she goes for another quick pin, but Lacey kicks out at the 1.5 mark. And Sonya locks in a body scissors, and that move is held for a very long time. One thing that impressed me with her opponent, Lacey, was Sonya delivered a couple of good punches, and Lacey fired back with a nice hook that took Deville right down to her ass. But it wasn't enough. Sonya Deville took the win with a step-up kick to the face that put Lacey down for the 3 count. So your winner is Sonya Deville. Now we got another video package, and it was about Hideo Itami coming out to confront Bobby Roode. Not going to get into it because it's all leading up there, and we'll talk about it after the matches. So up next was Kassius Ohno versus Andrade, Cien, Almas. And I want to say I'm very impressed with both of these guys in this match. They really came out to give everything they had. Kassius Ohno looked really good. Cien Almas looked really damn good for a change. Looked like he was more focused on the match rather than what he was going to do afterwards. Now, excuse me, lot of high spots in this match. A lot of times I thought, wow, this match is done, you know, and I actually thought they would have Cien Almas go over. Not to be the case. Now, let's see. Got to check out my notes here. Okay, so we've seen Almas working the arm bar quite a bit. He looked like Kassius Ohno went and injured his arm, and Almas tried taking advantage of it. Pissed off Kassius Ohno. Kassius Ohno came back. We've seen a very... I love this move. It was like a backflip into a Pele kick to the back of Ohno's head. I'm sorry, I get mixed up with the names a little bit. I don't want to fuck up the names, but yes, it was a very, very spectacular move on the part of Cien Almas. I loved it. We've seen a reverse DDT. Actually, it was a tornado reverse DDT. And Ohno kicked out immediately and delivered a massive pump kick and then hit 2 rolling elbows for the 1-2-3 count. Your winner was Kassius Ohno and celebrated quite a bit afterwards. And we went into more video packages going into this weekend's NXT TakeOver Chicago, and finally got Bobby Roode come out. And I had a little laugh at my daughter because I've seen her bobbing her head to the glorious theme of Bobby Roode. Now Bobby Roode came out to the ring, and he admits that he was dropped by Itami 2 weeks ago, just minding his own business in a $5,000 custom-made suit. He goes, I hope you enjoyed that moment, because that will never, ever happen again. He teases Itami about him being in and out with injuries, and that he wasn't even sure that Hideo was still employed with the company. Now Roode then says Itami will have to go back to his family and tell them he failed again, but this time he failed at the hands of the NXT champion, Bobby Roode. This basically signaled the arrival of Hideo Itami, and he came out, and right away Roode yells at him, you don't have to do this right now. And Regal came out with security, tried blocking Itami's advancement to the ring, and Hideo snuck out between under the arms of William Regal, charged the ring, took down Bobby Roode. Security quickly removed him. Bobby Roode skirted out of the ring, and Hideo went on a spree against the security team, wiping them out with GTS after GTS after GTS. Bobby Roode came in, did a sneak attack, hit him from behind, took him down to the ground, but it was lived fairly shortly because Roode went to sleep once again with the man that originated the GTS, Hideo Itami. It was a great way to end the show. I loved it, and it should be quite the NXT takeover in Chicago. I'm going to be loving it. I'm more excited for NXT takeover Chicago than I am SmackDown Backlash. The energy in NXT is so much different. The wrestling is so much different. It is more about the wrestling. It isn't about all the other entertainment bullshit that you get along with it. These guys are learning to tell the story, not just on the mic, but inside that ring as well. And that's what I like to see. It's a throwback to better days of wrestling, when wrestlers knew how to tell the story inside that ring. It wasn't like it is today. It wasn't, they're just putting on a show and that's it. There's no story behind that match. These guys are learning the right way, and sadly, when they go up to The main brands, that's taken away, and they have to follow the way the main brands run things. That kills it right there for me. I kind of wish that they would make NXT a bigger and live show, because it would be so much better than what we're seeing on the main rosters. To have NXT as a feeder brand makes no sense to me at all. These guys are doing wonderful things, and that's being taken away from them as they get brought up. Makes no sense to me at all. Now, like I said, we are going to be covering the UK Challenge Friday, and I believe that's at 8 o'clock. We're going to cover that. We're going to be covering NXT TakeOver Chicago. Also, Backlash, SmackDown's pay-per-view brand. And then we're going to continue on with Monday Night Raw, and Tuesday's SmackDown Live, and then NXT all over again. It's going to be non-stop for 6 days of wrestling, and I am going to be wiped out. I'm going to actually need a day or two to recover from wrestling. But it should be a great weekend. I'm actually looking forward to see what happens on the SmackDown pay-per-view this weekend, titled Backlash. I'm going to be doing a show tomorrow. We're going to do a prediction show for NXT as well as Backlash. We're going to do that all on the same show tomorrow. We're going to cover that. I'm also going to bring you other news, and going to have a great time with it. Now, like I said at the top of the show, this is the place to be for NXT. Make sure that you share this video out. Upvote if you are from vidme.com. Please subscribe and like this video if you have not when you're on youtube.com. I want this channel to grow. NXT seems to be my best show that gets the most views. Now, last week's didn't do so good, which I didn't understand, because it was the best NXT show I've put on. And we're on the road to 200 subscribers. Don't forget, help this channel grow. Pass these videos around to friends and family that also enjoy wrestling, and other communities that you think love the entertaining sport of wrestling and the podcast. And like I said, subscribe, upvote, doesn't matter where you are. Help this channel grow, because at 200 subscribers, we're doing a new draw, and that is going to be for a t-shirt like this. It is the Circle of Steel brand, and once we get up to 500 subscribers, we are going to do a Pillar to Post t-shirt draw. Make sure that you guys help this channel grow to at least 500 for now. That is my goal, 500 right now, and then we're going to keep on growing until we get up into the thousands and 2,000s, 3,000s. Keep this thing going. The scenery, like I said, it will be changing very soon. I'm going to be working on a studio in the basement, have a little bit more of a better feel to it. I'll be able to put up some nice walls and maybe a shelf with some wrestling memorabilia. It should be a great area to work out of, and maybe a little bit better lighting. But you guys have a good night. I will catch you tomorrow for my prediction show as well as my news show, and we'll see what else happens. You know, there should be a lot of stuff coming around in the news department this week. Have a good night, all. And please make sure to check out the descriptions below for your way of getting a free audio book and free 30-day trial at audible.com. Have a good night, all.